Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make some spring decor, and I think that nothing says spring more than eggs and nests. So that's going to be the theme of the decor today. So I took all the eggs that I had left over from last year. Some of these are just plastic eggs that have been painted, and so I base coated them with buttercream. And then I took a toothbrush and dipped it in some dark brown that was watered down just a little bit and spritzed it on there, just kind of flicked it on there. And then I did some light brown, and I really mixed some of that light brown really thin, and then you can see more of the watercolor look on those. And I also made some nest up the night before. And what I did was I just had a container and I put some Spanish moss in it, and then I poured some glue in it. And I'm just using regular Elmer school glue, and I just kind of poured that all over it and then mixed it in well. And I just kind of added until I got what I felt like I needed. And you want enough to hold it together, but you don't want so much that it's just really, really wet. But I made a bunch of this because I wanted to have enough to do all of my projects. Now this is Spanish moss, and this makes good nest, but then I also use some other materials to make other nest. But again, I just kind of mixed the glue in here and just kind of worked it in with my hands, and this is very messy. You could use gloves on this. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and this is one of the times that I didn't. And I just kind of mixed it all together and squished it in good and just made sure that I got it really incorporated in this. And then I just started making my egg shapes. Not my egg shapes, my nest shapes. And I used different containers depending on what size I wanted my nest to be. And I just kind of worked it somewhat in the shape of a nest. And then I can go back as it starts to dry a little bit and start to shape it a lot better. And I just start kind of pulling the inside away to the outside. Press down that center well, and then just start trying to shape the outside. The good thing about nest is they don't have to be perfect. Now I thrifted this basket, and it has some age on it, and I like the color of it, but I don't really know what it's for. I just thought it was really cute, and I knew that I would find some use for it, so I'm going to put a nest in it. And if anybody knows what this is, let me know. It almost looks like those carriers that you have for food bowls, but I know it's not that because this one is tiny. I'm just going to take one of these nests, and as you can see, it really sets up good. And you can just make your basic shape of a nest, and then you can add to it after it dries, or you can add things into it while it's wet. Now, I felt like for this particular nest, I wanted to kind of boost that back up a little bit so that when you're looking straight on it, you can still see the inside of the nest. And I took a little bit of hot glue that I'm not showing here, and where those handles move, I put a little bit of glue back in there so that they would stand up, because I wanted to keep them standing up like this. I'm going to make a very simple one with this little jar, and I'm just going to stuff some Spanish moss down inside and put some eggs in it, and then just kind of add some extra embellishment on the outside. Now, I feel like I'm apologizing for my voice a lot lately, but I guess this is just the tail end of whatever it was that I had with all the coughing. And I'm completely better, no more coughing or anything else, but it's kind of affected my voice today. And I'm trying a better angle for the camera today so that I could see these kind of straight on, but I noticed that my arm is getting in the way a lot, so I apologize for that. We're trying a new thing with some of our hang tags, or actually most of them we're trying to keep simple. So I love doing the other hang tags, and I'll do those on certain things, but we're trying to make our tags more cohesive throughout the store. So we're just doing simple stamp on them and antiquing around the edges. Now this is just a little spoon that I glued some Spanish moss in and put 3 of the tiny little eggs. I could have done different colors on these eggs, but I just like this really natural look. And I decided, instead of just having this spoon like it was, that I would put it in this old muffin tin. So I know that most of you have seen these at some point, and here is the one that I saw on Pinterest as my inspiration. And I've never made one of these before, so I thought that I would put my own spin on it. But I think these are just really cute. And I know I said I used Spanish moss on this little nest, but I didn't. I just remembered on this one, I had thrifted a pillow so that I would have the stuffing to use. And it ended up having this brown polyfill in it, but also a bunch of little brown and white feathers in it. So I thought that would be perfect for a nest. And I decided here that I didn't like the placement of my spoon, so I had to move it. And I made a little nest in this other piece too, and I don't really know what these are. I know some of you might know what these are, but I thought that would make a good little nest also and add some extra dimension to this. I promise I'll find a better angle for this. This is just really not working out because, again, I'm getting my sleeve or my arm in it way too much. I decided to stamp a little bird on that egg, and then I just continued to add some sprigs of greenery. Now I could attach some sort of hanger to this, but I'm just going to leave it like this, and then I'm going to display it on a plate stand. Now this is a little wall shelf that I made a while back, and I just cut the top of a picket fence for the top part of this, and then part of what I cut off I attached at the bottom with some wood glue and screws and made a wall shelf. And then I added a resin mold to the top of that and antiqued it, and now I'm taking this little strainer and I put a little nest in it, and I didn't even worry with building the nest on this one. I just kind of stuffed some of the material in this, and I think this is one that I used the feathered stuffing in, and then I glued some little eggs there, and those eggs are a light pink. So I wanted to add some pink, and I used that little doily that I had some stains on it. So I just placed it where you wouldn't see the stains, but that's the colors that I'm working with. So I'm just taking some tea rose and dry brushing it over the roses. And I'm not worried about full coverage at all. I just want to add some of that color in, and that tea rose was the perfect color to bring out the pink in this doily. And so I just dry brushed some of that on the roses, and then on the leaves I used the color Weeping Willow. And both of those are Dixie Belle colors, and both matched perfectly to the little doily. And now I just took some little strips of ribbon and lace and cut them about 4 inches long, and then tied them together in the center. And I probably used about 7 or 8 of those. Now for this next project, I'm sure most of you have seen these, where they put a nest on a little potato masher. And this is kind of an older one, but it has all the paint worn off of it. So I'm going to paint the handle in the color sea glass. And then once that dries well, then I'm going to take a damp cloth and do some pretty heavy distressing, because I still want this to look old. And then I'll go over it with some brown wax to age that sea glass. And it won't be quite as bright, but it will look vintage. And I said I used brown wax, but I think I used the Van Dyke brown glaze on this and just brushed some on. And now I'm removing all the excess. And then because this doesn't have a whole lot to hold all that Spanish moss in, I'm just going to take a little nest that I already made and attach that, and I'll do that by wiring it onto both sides of the potato masher. And then I added a little bird. I think this is a little resin bird, and stuffed some greenery and flowers around it, tied some lace around the top to finish it off. Now this is a little sugar mold, and I get these wholesale, and I always struggle to figure out what to do with them. But this one I think is going to be perfect for a little nest. So I'm going to take some of this transfer from Dixie Belle called Birds and Blooms. This is one of their smaller sets, and I'm going to add just a little bit of it here in the front, and then a little bit on the top, and then I'll add a nest and some eggs inside it. And I wasn't sure if the transfer would stick well to this surface, so I did spray this with a clear matte finish and let that dry well before I added my transfer. And then of course I'll have to seal it again afterwards. And I also added some greenery into this one for height in the back, using some of the colors of greenery that is in the transfer. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.